All right, so these manufacturers, they're getting desperate.
Stellantis has faced slumping sales and shutdowns at some of its facilities.
And they're having to do more and more of this. 0% interest up to 72 months and up to $20,000 off. But let me show you what the extra problem is. Look, $102,000 for this truck. And what do we know about Ford? Well, they are really good at making F-150s, and they're also really good at recalling the F-150s after they make them.
550,000 Ford trucks are under a recall tonight. Officials say the transmissions could unexpectedly downshift to first gear, no matter how fast the vehicle's going.
Pricing is also a problem, and we need to get help on this because we got a $100,000 truck, a $100,000 truck, a $100,000 truck. And guess what? If you look up next to the dealership over there, $90,000, $80,000, $90,000. Here's the discount. It's $60,000.
The Jeep maker announced its CEO is retiring and its CFO is leaving.
This is the problem. Prices are too high. They've gotten out of hand.
Kelleher has been selling these cars his entire career and has seen the ups and downs. This time, he says the troubles are of Stellantis' own making.
Dealer morale is low. Corporate morale is at an all-time low. So I would suggest that this company, I don't know what their end plan is, because they certainly don't tell us.
So let's point this out right here. We're starting to see this a lot right here. And this is a Bronco. It's a 2024, $66,000. All right, so I'm at a Kia dealer right now. Toyota, Ford, Chevy, Nissan, Range Rover. There's a Kia. There's one Kia. Manager special. Manager special, manager special. And we keep seeing more of this, more and more of this. This special interest rates at Ford, Stellantis, GM. We're seeing it at Kia. We see it over here at Toyota. There's some special interest rates. There's another Kia. There we go. Nissan, Volkswagen. There's another Kia. Honda, Toyota, Buick. What I want to point out here is that because there's so little money for these dealers to make on these new cars, because these incentives are coming out, because special interest rates are coming out, because they just have low margin on these new vehicles, then a lot of these new dealers are turning into glorified used car dealers, because guess what? There's a ton more money to make on these used cars at these dealerships than there are on the new cars. All right, I do want to check these out. Remember when Tellurides had like $10,000 and $20,000 dealer markups? Oh, stickers on the other side. I mean, they look good, but why were they so popular? Why were they so crazy where everyone was paying crazy market adjustments on these things? So now we got a 2024 Telluride. It's a V6 all-wheel drive, and the manufacturer's price is $53,600, and then after your add-ons here, $56,000 for a Kia. Say it again, for a Kia. It's a Telluride. But now you can find them everywhere, so there shouldn't be market adjustments. There shouldn't be a lot of add-ons on them. Yeah, I think, is that another one? I don't know Kias. I don't speak Kia. I mean, stuff like this, I know the dealership makes lots of money on this stuff. I know the manufacturer makes lots of money on these $70,000, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 trucks. And they can give 0% interest, and they can take a little bit of money off to help the buyer. But here's what we've seen from Stellantis right now, that incentives are up. Things like this are up. More of this is happening across the market for Stellantis, for Jeep, Dodge, Ram. But sales are still down, and that shouldn't happen. As you lower the prices, as you increase your incentives for consumers to get their butts in these seats, your sales should go up. And that's not happening, and this is a big problem, and I think it's too little too late. Here's another example right here. Let's just go look at this Wagoneer. So this is the biggest problem that we're talking about. It's all pricing. You see, you have these Grand Jeep Cherokees, you have this Wrangler right here, but all of these vehicles, I mean, this one is $73,000. Absolutely ridiculous.
The company also started releasing some very pricey new models, including the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer, two 3-row SUVs priced starting at around $60,000 and going all the way up to $120,000.
This is what's got to change in the car market if they need to move the metal. If they're going to move the metal, they have to get prices down. 0% interest is not going to help. Taking a little bit of money off, I mean, it says up to $20,000. Even if you take $20,000 off that truck right there, guess what? It's still $80,000. It's too much. They're not going to move. A lot of these dealers are keeping a lot of the inventory that used to go to used car dealers like myself at these auctions. And what it causes is it causes a limited availability of quality cars at auctions on the used car market. And it really puts a strain on us. Even though I'm a car dealer that sells stuff that's only $5,000 and under, well, if you take a lot of the top end cars out of the market like these right here for used car dealers, then the dealers that were buying those, they have to shift down and tear down. And it happens throughout the whole ecosystem of used car dealers. And if the top end guys have to move down to mid-tier, then the mid-tier dealers move down to a lower tier, which is coming into my price range of stuff. And it just creates more competition for these used vehicles that are coming into the market, and it keeps prices high, because when dealers have to pay higher prices at the wholesale level at these auctions, then we have to charge more. So in my case, if I buy a car for $1,500, I'm gonna make about $1,000 on it. So I sell it for $2,500. But if I have to buy that same car for $2,500 and I'm gonna make my $1,000 on it, then I'm gonna sell it for $3,500. So that's the same scenario where, okay, prices can go up through the used car market, but me as a small business owner, me as a used car dealer, if I still want to move metal, I'm still making about the same amount of money, but I take on more risk because I have more money associated with the cars that I'm actually buying. And it starts at these new car dealers, because they're keeping all the quality cars right now. And I want to give credit where credit's due. I know I talk negatively a lot on my videos, but there's not much positive to talk about in the car market. This is a 2023 Toyota Prius XLE, and it's $35,000. I don't want to talk positively about the price on that. I still think it's too high, especially it being a used vehicle. But I do want to say all these used cars at this dealership, the dealership actually puts the price on the car. It's very rare to see that from a dealership on used vehicles, especially from a new franchise dealership. Usually they want to get people inside, and sometimes the price of a used vehicle is a moving target depending on the customer. And that's why a lot of times they will not put the prices. But this dealership, they put prices on vehicles, and that's good to see. Still too much, in my opinion, for that particular car. I haven't looked at every one, but I like more transparency. More transparency in the car market is what we need. That's what I like to see. So price on cars, I don't care if the prices are too high. I mean, I want them to be lower, but at least they give a price on a car. Here's another one, 2023 Ford Maverick Lariat. $38,000. It's got 5,000 miles on the odometer. I think this one new. I just saw one yesterday. So let's check one out. I think all of these were the trimmer. Let's look at this one. I like this color. 2024 Lariat. It's just a front wheel drive. MSRP is $37,000. I think that's very close to a brand new price. So high prices. But I like that they show them. It's crazy how much the market has changed as far as doing manager specials. There you go. The reason I want to point this out is there's a lot of manufacturers that won't allow these dealers to advertise their vehicles for under a certain price. I know Nissan, I've got a buddy who's a franchise manager that he told me that, okay, Nissan will not allow them to market their vehicles under invoice price. And it could be the situation on a lot of these dealerships, and here's another one, manager special right there, where, okay, they want to advertise these vehicles for a lot off, 20-25% off, whatever, to try to get them moved, but they're only allowed to market them so much. And if that's a vehicle that's been sitting on the lot for a long period of time, it's got to be frustrating for the dealership, because if they want to market it down and they want to get rid of it, but their manufacturer has rules on them as a dealer that won't allow them to. Oh, here we go. Red tag sale. So they do things like this at these dealerships, and this is exactly what my franchise manager buddy said, is that they have to put something like clearance or manager special on the sticker of the car to hopefully get a consumer to come in the door and ask them about it, because they can tell them about it in their doors all day long, but they can't advertise that price online. Had a viewer that I gave a little advice to just the other day. He bought a RAV4 for over 10% off of MSRP. Yeah, that's crazy right now for them to be able to do it. But you know what? Even Toyota, I mean, these dealerships, even though, I mean, they're selling more vehicles, but they're getting more vehicles. So availability is the biggest thing for these dealerships. Even if they are selling more, they're just getting pumped more from these manufacturers. And as you have more in the market, dealers have to be more competitive with each other. So that means prices can come down, just like on that RAV4, over 10% off. You wouldn't have found that 6 months ago. You wouldn't have found that 10 months ago. 10 months ago, 12 months ago is what I was trying to say. So here's another big problem for a lot of these dealers. Come up to this sticker right here on this Ram, and it says it's a 2024, and it's $79,000. But it hasn't been that long ago that at this dealership that I'm standing on right now, they still had brand new 2022 trucks.
Check this out. All these trucks right here are heavily discounted 2022 Ram 1500s.
This is what we're seeing a lot in the market, where you're still seeing a lot of these Stellantis dealers that have 2023s. They have 2024s still sitting on the lot. And look at this whole line right there. That's all 2025s. So we have more and more of these 2025s getting pumped to these dealers right now, and they still have 1- and 2-year-old trucks sitting on their dealership lots. And that's a lot of interest that they're paying over this time period. And you know what? These new 2025s, they have to heavily discount those to even move them. So what is a dealer to do? Do you want to sell your new fresh inventory 2025s that you haven't really paid a lot of interest on yet? Or do you want to heavily discount these 2024s, these 2023s, to get them out of here? And then you're competing with your new inventory that's coming in here. And this is something that I talk about a lot, being a used car dealer, is I don't want things to sit on my lot for very long, especially as the market moves down, because all of that old inventory, if I have to heavily discount it, well, it's then directly competing with my new inventory that I just got in, that I might be making more on my new inventory. So this is something that dealers have to deal with, because I mean, they want to make as much money as possible, and they're going to make more money on the new inventory that comes in, but they also need to get that old inventory out. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's kind of the perfect storm for a lot of these dealers of what they're having to deal with. They have to choose between, okay, making more money or getting rid of stuff that's costing them more money. Something that I have to deal with, and I'm a small used car dealer, and I have to deal with that every single week. I can't imagine what these dealers that have all this inventory, what the cost analysis they go through as far as what they want to pay interest on, or what they want to try to move, or what they want to try to make money on. It's a very difficult situation for a lot of these dealers to be in right now. All right, so check this out. On this Rogue, the MSRP is $35,000, and they're taking $5,000 off. Oh, it says up to, but I know this dealership, and I know they do pretty heavy discounts, and this is actually a good dealership. I like this dealership. But showing that $5,000 on that Rogue, on a $35,000 car, that's over 10% that they're advertising. And a lot of times, if they're advertising a certain amount, a lot of times you can go in and you can negotiate for lower than that. So this is showing what Nissan dealers, in my opinion, this dealership is a good dealership, and they move with the market. Even when all the craziness was happening, there were markups, there were nitrogen being added to these cars. This dealership right here, because I was checking at that time, that's when my YouTube channel blew up, they never had any market adjustments. And I went in and I said, why? I haven't been able to find any dealerships that didn't have market adjustments in this crazy time. And it's just their owners just never wanted to do it. They didn't feel good about it. And that's I like that. So you can find good dealerships out there, and this is one right here. But it's just crazy to see where the market has moved, where, okay, now dealerships are advertising more than 10% off of a lot of these new vehicles, and they're still, I mean, they're still having a tough time selling it. And the Rogues are a prime example of that. So quality can really affect the sales of a lot of these vehicles, these F-150s. I mean, with the recalls, you see all these Stellantis trucks, Toyota right now with their trucks getting recalls. And if consumers think that they're going to buy this F-150 and then 6 months from now they're going to have to send it to the shop for whatever kind of issue, take time out of their day, probably days, to be able to get this problem fixed, and maybe it won't even be fixed. As we know, a lot of recalls, they have issues that remain for years and years and years. And this is just something that dealers also have to deal with. And this is not a dealer problem. This is a manufacturer problem. These dealers aren't putting together these trucks. It's Ford that's putting together these trucks. But the dealers, they still have to sell them. They still have to stand by them. They still have to say, okay, this is a great truck and you should buy it. And you pull up the news and recall, 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 recall. How does a salesperson combat that? Well, I mean, I know you're going to have this truck right back here in about 3 weeks, but I think you should go ahead and take it today. It's a tough sell. All right, and so for Nissan, these things are a problem. Nissan Rogue, you see them stacking up at this dealership. So what Nissan has done for these Rogues, because they know dealerships are having a hard time selling them, is they want to incentivize these dealers to sell more of them. So they have brought back the stair-step program, and this is a program that hasn't been implemented in many years. So what that stair-step program does is that if these dealerships hit 90% of their sales goal for selling these Rogues, then they'll get an extra $250. If they hit 100% of the sales goal, then they'll get an extra $500. And if they hit 120% of their sales goal, then they'll actually get $750. And this is backdated. So if they go through a month, they hit 120% of their sales goal, then every car that they sold in that month, every Rogue that they sold in that month, they're going to get an extra $750. And this can add up to a lot of money. Think about a volume Nissan dealership. They sell 100 Rogues in a month. That's $75,000. But here's the problem. This is not a big Nissan dealership. They sell a lot of cars because they do it the right way. I like this dealership. They don't do add-ons. I think they're honest with their customers. I think they do the right thing. I really like this dealership group. But they're not a huge volume Nissan dealership. So here's the problem for a dealership like this. If you have another volume-based Nissan dealership that's just 20 minutes down the road, and a lot of these dealerships, Nissan, Ford, Kia, Honda, Toyota, they have dealerships that are relatively close to each other. But if you have a massive Nissan dealership right down the road from here, and they're doing 200, 300, 400 cars a month, then they can discount these things so much to try to get that extra incentive from Nissan, where a dealership like this, they're not going to move that kind of volume. So it actually weakens, in my opinion, is what I think, it weakens a dealership like this